How's it going, Elena?
Good. How are you, Anthony?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, I like that it's cold too. I want to, before anyone starts assuming, we're not drinking here. This is non-alcoholic, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Pour Sport. And what is this? What do we have?
This is non-alcoholic, actually de-alkalized wine.
De-alkalized.
De-alkalized, meaning that it was wine made traditionally in Spain, as you would, fermenting the grapes. And then it goes to Germany. It gets de-alkalized by vacuum distillation, so by low heat, removes the alcohol, and gets down to 0.0%. And I import it in and have been selling it in Toronto.
Wow, I love it. And you were telling me that the 0.0 is important. Why?
It's important because a lot of de-alkalized wines can't get it that low
Yeah.
and still save that same taste and have that same flavor. So the 0.0 is sort of a good factor because not everyone can have even a little trace of alcohol, right? Like for religion reasons or health reasons. So
Or relapse reasons.
or relapse reasons, of course. Yeah.
It's the last thing I need is 0.1%. I'm not getting drunk and I'm thinking about relapsing or relapsing, right?
Exactly.
So
We don't want that.
yeah, no, and I always say this is like my motive has to be right with these. I specifically I stay away from the non-alcoholic beer just because it tastes so similar. But everything else is fair game because I just want like a refreshing drink, you know, and I don't want the hangover, and I want to still hang out and have fun with people, but I don't want to smoke meth again.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want you smoking meth again either.
Yeah, you don't.
And you're
trust
right.
me.
I don't want it to be triggering. So if you're in that recovery where, you know, it could be triggering by that's because the tastes are getting so good, right? The flavors of the de-alkalized non-alc are becoming so good and tasting exactly like they would with alcohol that you don't want that to be triggering.
Yeah.
So
Who are the majority of your customers, would you say?
Oh, I would say, you know, it's a mix of people that are either similar to me, like living the sober, curious lifestyle, and they don't want to drink anymore, but they want to go out and still have that experience. And then I'd say a lot of people in the health and wellness space, because more and more people are realizing, you know, that alcohol, even if they don't have a dependency on it, is just not good, and they're not able to reach their full potential either with, you know, their sports or fitness goals. And they're turning to these options to be able to still be out with their friends and connect and not have to have the alcohol and feel hungover.
Nice. I love that. So what's the nutritional information on this?
So
Do you know?
Yep. For the rosé, so that's in 100 ml, it's 6 grams of sugar, but it's all residual from the grapes and no added guck or anything. And it's 25 calories per 100 ml and 0 grams fat.
That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
And this comes in red wine and not this specific one, but you make red wine,
I actually only have the rosé sparkling and the white sparkling for now, and then I plan to roll out the still line, a white and a red.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. We're trialing with the sparkling. I wanted to do, you know, the celebratory bubbles first, and then we'll roll out the stills later.
So why are you so passionate about this?
Well, I'm very passionate about it because I stopped drinking about 3 years ago, 3 years August, and I am a very...
That's awesome, by the way. Congrats.
Thank you. And I'm a very social person, and like I said, I love to go out and be with my friends and go to restaurants and events and do everything where normally, you know, alcohol is involved.
Yeah.
And when I removed it from my life, it was challenging because you're missing something, right? Like you're standing there and you have water, or you're not holding anything in your hand, and it's like a little uncomfortable for yourself, and also because people are asking.
Yeah,
you know, obviously,
it's the worst.
It's the worst. People just like can't get over the fact, like, what's wrong with you? But yeah,
Are you pregnant?
Yeah.
Do you have a problem or what's going on? Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? But that's just where society is. And I thought like that too when I drank. So I get it. I understand.
That's a good point, actually.
You know, yeah. Not to be hypocritical here.
Yeah.
So when I learned that the non-alc scene's coming in and there's so many options, there weren't many wines. And then when I tried a wine, a different one, an Italian one, it like brought me back. I was like, oh my gosh, I was sitting at a bar setting with a friend and random strangers, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this tastes so familiar. It was kind of a little bit of the placebo, but again, like you could cheers and you could chat, and it was like eye-opening. And so I thought, you know, it was a driver to like, I got to get into the space. And the non-alc space, like to me, it's more than just a product. It's like symbolizing, again, like you can go out there and just live your best life and, you know, again, have something in your hand, and it symbolizes that healthy well-being, you know, to me. So it's more than just a non-alc wine.
Yeah. Do you, can you share why you quit drinking? Why you decided, was there a moment that you kind of said, this isn't serving me anymore?
Yeah, totally. So I think it was like, 20 years of heavy drinking. Like I started young. I started at 15 and in high school, and I guess you're experimenting back then, but I took everything to just excess. So, loved to just party hard, and then university continued on. And then those are the more acceptable stages, though, I guess, party, or at least more common. But unfortunately, kind of dripped on a bit more into my adult life and lived in Australia, which isn't
Oh
great
boy.
for people.
Yeah, I've never been, but I've heard it's crazy over there. I mean, every time
Yeah.
I go on vacation and I hang out with Australians, they always are the most drunk,
Yeah,
from
they
what I
like to
see.
party. It's a drinking culture there. Like it's actually interesting because it's health and wellness too, right? Because there's the beaches and they're really into fitness
Surfing.
but it definitely it's warm 8 months of the year, like there's patios open everywhere. So it's very easy if you're already kind of, on that kind of angle of dependent on alcohol to find that party and get yourself back into that drinking culture. So that was, 10 years of that. And I think just with me, like I was finding that it was very volatile. Like
Yeah.
I'd be in control of my drinking, where I'd set boundaries and rules for myself, right? Like don't drink during the week and don't drink in front of clients or work. And then the weekend was just a free for all.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that I'd start to bend those rules more and more.
Mm.
And I was getting into this gray area where it was like I was making up excuses then, because I was like, oh, well, I'm out with my friends, or I'm out with work, or I have a great life and I'm doing so well. I'm allowed to drink this
Right.
much.
These justifications, right? So
Exactly.
you would break the rules and then justify it in your head.
Totally.
I can relate.
And you're forming, those bad habits. I'm sure, like you don't even realize they're coming because you're just doing it and you're making up excuses. And it was really great. And then I jumped to this other phase of like, coping with something negative or really bad that was going on. And then I'd be like, well, this allows me then just to drink, to forget about it. And I'd noticed that it was getting kind of dark and it was taking control of my life, but I wasn't able to bring back that control as easily, like, and give myself breaks. So it was this tug of war between all those phases. And it just got to be like just so consuming of me. And I was like, this is not what I want for myself. Like, this isn't sustainable. I can't keep doing this for the next, like I was in my 30s at this stage, and you know what hangovers like when you're like, whew, you're rough. And I was just like, I can't keep doing this. Like I have to somehow stop. And abstinence is like kind of the way I realized for me. Like everyone's different, but I realized like I had to just remove it completely from my life, because it was consuming it, and I wasn't able to reach like my full potential.
Yeah. Potential. I love that word. I used to hate that word, but potential is like I don't know. I used to hear it in treatment, my first treatment center in Minnesota. Potential is like, it's like that trigger word for alcoholics and addicts, right?
Mm-hmm.
People in my life are coming up to me, man, he has so much potential. If only he would just stop drinking or stop using so much, he could be so much better than he is. He could be doing, even in school, in elementary school, my teachers on my report card, my mom always reminds me, but it always said like not living up to potential, and I just like that word used to haunt me. Right. And now, it's funny, you remove the alcohol and the substances and I'm doing shit that I never thought I could do.
Right.
Starting this podcast was another one. Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. Running a marathon was another one. And I did it all. There's a common theme here. I'm sober during all these accomplishments, right?
Yeah.
I can't run a fucking marathon when I'm, hungover or like it takes so much dedication and time, right?
Oh, gosh,
and then,
absolutely.
in your situation, starting a business, right? Do you want to talk about like how that was getting it off the ground, kind of some early struggles and how you navigated them?
Yeah, it's hard. Like anyone can say when you start your own business, like it's just you you're gonna have challenges, but a whole bunch of things get thrown at you unexpectedly. You got to pivot. You got to be so resilient. And it's a lot of energy. So yeah, like being sober, like has made me, be able to do it to the extent I've been able to kind of push the business and go live. But yeah, it's been fun. Like, it's been really fun. It's a new space for me, the food and beverage in general, let alone the non-alc, and it's growing so massively. So it's such a great space to be involved in, and watching all like globally how it's becoming
Yeah.
so big, and like it's doing such great things. That's the thing, it's a business that's improving people's lifestyles and making them a better person. So it's like, I keep that at the back of my mind, right? When I have those rough times, or you're going through, the turmoil of the business and some negative things, you're like, this is helping me, and it's going to help other people. But yeah, I mean, like, starting up a business that I'm importing, so that's had its struggles.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with a vineyard in Spain and the language barrier, and then it's coming over, and if anything kind of falls short on that supply chain, like, it can make the business just go through bits of hiccups. So importing it in, and then all our ports went on strike, when I was first getting my shipment in, and like all these things were coming, and I was like, why? Like, it's just endless. But yeah, no, it's been really good. And like I said, now that the product's out and launched and people really like it, and like I said, getting in the space has been fun, and collaborating with people in the health and wellness, especially in the fitness, because I'm really into fitness,
Yeah.
so it aligns well with my values, has been so great. Like, people reaching out, like, let's work together. Let's do a Pilates and pour party. Let's do a spin and drink party, like, without the alcohol, obviously, because it's health oriented. And it's been really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely have found that in working in the, I guess I would call it like the sober creative space, but also I've been talking to a lot of, non-alcoholic beverage shops, and just to kind of, learn more about this. And yeah, everyone's so cooperative and so friendly, and they just want to help you. People are willing to do things to kind of, better there's like a goal in mind, right? It's not just I want to better my business and screw you, right? There's a goal in mind. I love the name Pour Sport. Do you want to explain what it means to you a little bit?
To me, so obviously there's the play on the word pour, which is fun. So it's Pour. And then if you kind of like think about it, it's the pun, right? The pour sport. So people, when you're out playing a sport and someone's losing, and they're taking it negatively,
Hate that guy.
no one likes to lose too, right? We don't like to lose. We're in this world where you got to win and you got to succeed. And then, that person that's not dealing with it well, and they're losing, and you don't invite them back, right? And it's kind of that funny kind of bit around the pour sport of the person that's losing alcohol and not drinking.
Yeah.
So like, I don't want to drink anymore, and this group does. Do they want to invite me out anymore? Because there's that stigma now. Oh, Allana doesn't drink, or it's like something's wrong with you. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And they don't, you don't want to make you feel included anymore. So it's kind of the fun play on that,
Yeah.
And it's the irony is you're winning because you're the one that's not drinking, and you're the one that's choosing to be confident with that choice. And, again, like, I'm not pushing sobriety on anyone. Everyone, I think, can, make their own choices. And, but for me, it serves a purpose to not drink, and I want to be proud of that choice, right?
I love it. It's a great name. And, with regards to the people either judging or asking you questions, it's unavoidable, right? I've experienced it. I remember one time specifically, in probably 2016, I had about a year of sobriety, and it was one of those first times I went out to the bar with a bunch of my friends, and the waiter comes to our table. He goes around the entire table, and there's probably 8 of us, beer, 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 beer. And I'm not even kidding. I was the last one, like, just of course. And I'm watching this happen, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like seeing this happen. I'm like, this is going to be so uncomfortable. I already know. Right. And I was at a pretty good place in my sobriety, but it comes to me, and I look at the guy and I go, oh, just soda water. And he looked at me, and he just went like, in front of all the people. All my friends like stopped and looked up at him, and then they looked at me, and they were like about to, they were like, what's he going to do? And I just, I did what I was taught. Right. I just like didn't react, which is like, that's like, I wanted to knock the guy out, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
I would want it too.
But the other thing I do too, and this is getting better, but whenever that happens to me, it happened another time with my wife, and I'll explain that in a second, because that was a funny story too. But my first reaction is to be like, yeah, so I don't drink because I almost died and overdosed, and I went to 3 rehabs. Thanks though.
Yeah.
And just to make the guy feel like
of course.
complete shit, right? And I don't do that, but that's
You
my
wanna do
yeah,
that.
that's the other thing I want to do, is just make, ruin the guy's day, right?
Exactly.
But I've done it before, and it doesn't work, but Yeah, there was another time where a guy came up to me, and my wife had this massive beer, and we were going to a Leaf game, and I had a soda water, and he commented on that. He was hammered, and he's like, "Oh, it's just funny." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "She's so small, drinking the beer," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't drink."
gosh.
I probably said at that time that I almost died and went to rehab, and
Yeah.
he just went, "Sorry, man," and he just walked away. So I have done it before. I'm not perfect.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
But yeah, I was going to ask you. So when you first quit drinking, what was the reaction of others around you, and what was that like?
Yeah. You know, quite mixed reactions, I think. Like, you got some friends that were like fully supportive and just like, that's amazing, right? Like, that's really great. I wish I could do that. Or like, I'm happy for you. And then you get some other people that are like, why? Like, kind of like, why, right? Like, why can you stop? Or like, nothing? You get that a lot.
Yeah,
Nothing?
yeah. Not even a
I'm like,
drop.
yeah,
I get
like,
that
no,
too.
I'm like choosing to not drink
Yeah.
alcohol,
Yeah.
like ever.
Don't you
Like,
know I'm all or
that's it.
nothing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm an all or nothing person, okay? And I am doing the nothing. I've done the all for 20 years. Go away. Like, so yeah, you get all these different reactions. But mostly supportive. Like, I think, some of the people that maybe were more taking it in more of a negative perception, I think is because maybe they had a problem.
That's what I was gonna say.
Right?
Yeah. Or have a problem.
Or have a problem.
Yeah.
You're right. Sorry,
Yeah.
have. And like, and it's that subconscious way, because I felt the same way, where like you kind of want to bring people with you down.
Yes.
You're like,
Yes.
well, we used to drink together.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sit here and have, 18 shots and you're going to sit and sip your water or your non-alc
Yeah.
drink. Like,
I'm gonna hate myself after
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, and you notice that, which is unfortunate. But like I said, like I'm aware of it because I kind of thought the same way, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So, but again, you have to just like, luckily, like I said, I have a very supportive group of friends and network, and everyone's been really, really amazing. And people have said you're inspirational, and I've wanted to drink less. So I've got that too. And that's
Nice.
so amazing to hear that.
Nice.
So yeah, it's
I
been
know
pretty good.
the things that you don't expect where you're inspiring people. I always say I've been getting messages here and there after this podcast, and some people really open up to you. And obviously, like, I'm not, a therapist. I am in school to get back into the field and do that stuff, but I'm not going to fix anyone. But it's nice when you see messages, hey, I'm struggling and I wasn't going to send this, but your podcast or your post or your guest, I get that a lot too. Like it let me feel like I'm not alone today. Right. And
nice.
I'm just like, fuck. We had someone on the podcast last time, who was a comedian, and he said someone reached out to him and said, I was going to take my life today, but I watched one of your videos and I just completely forgot about it. I know it blew me away when he was telling me that story. You just never know how you're going to affect people, right? Positively and negatively, right?
Yeah.
So, it's truly a beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I was in Costco the other day, and this is my question to you is, where do you see this non-alcoholic thing going, right? I was in Costco the other day, and I'm not even kidding you. There was probably an entire Costco section, so not a grocery store section, a Costco section of non-alcoholic beverage options.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about soda water or flavored. So I'm talking about like, White Claw 0%. Like I couldn't believe it, right?
Yeah.
It's growing. So where do you see this, where do you see this industry going? What's the future look like, do you think, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's like one of the fastest growing industries globally, because again, it's fitting under that health and wellness space, and it's so nice to see that.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's becoming this huge thing where it used to just be a couple options on the menu or a couple options in grocery stores or in bottle shops, LCBO. And then a lot of the options were horrible.
I was going to say, they sucked.
That's the thing. We're here to educate you. There's great options out there. Like, we are the ones making great tasting. They taste similar. They're flavorful. But yeah, the options were horrible. I remember in Australia when I was taking one of my breaks, which I, realized I needed a month off. And I went to the grocery store and got which looked like fancy wine, non-alcoholic. And it was just like disgusting, like so sweet juice that I was like, this is horrible. Like, this makes me want to drink. What is, like, this is doing the opposite. So the quality of the products coming in is becoming so much better, of everything. The beers, the wines, there's like de-alkalized tequilas and gins and everything you can imagine that you can get with alcohol now you can get without. And it's really great to see. So the space is growing massively, and because also the demand's there, right? Like, that's why people are cutting back on drinking. And like I said, no matter what, even if they're not in recovery, they maybe just don't want to drink or want to have the option for guests or are pregnant or whatever the reason might be. So more and more people are turning to non-alc options. So Yeah, they have to expand their product line and have more shelves, and it's really nice when I'm seeing it on menus in
Yeah. Yeah.
restaurants is so nice because it's not just, again, like they'll say like non-alcoholic and it's like soda and pop and like some,
Yeah.
they now have like people are getting actually like a full menu with all the varieties,
Yeah.
and I'm loving it.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, I've had some pretty good ones. I like ginger and spicy things.
Yeah.
And we were at a place the other day and I had one. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this question because my wife wants to know.
Yeah.
And I think so. The price is a problem for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Like, and I'm not talking about from your website or other person's website or not. Like, the price at restaurants is so high for this stuff. It's almost as much as alcohol. Why do you think that is? And do you think it'll change?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And yeah, a lot of people do question that unless you're in the space and you kind of understand
Well,
why,
you see all the
right?
work and ingredients, and that's why it tastes good, right?
Yeah,
Because you put work into
exactly.
it.
Well, I can speak for like the de-alkalized
Yeah.
beverages like mine is like they actually go through an additional step, right? So it's the same because it's made traditionally as how wine is made
Mm.
with alcohol, and then it goes through an additional step to get removed, and they still want to make sure the taste is, you know, still great quality and that similar feel and mouth feel and everything and flavor. So it is more steps
Yeah.
involved, but people don't think that because they think it's removed.
Yeah.
Like, how is it the same price?
I didn't know that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little education on the de-alkalized. And then I guess maybe because, some restaurants do make them lower than alcohol and obviously that's a bit appealing, but other ones maybe aren't because they're noticing that people are going to be ordering them anyways.
Mm.
So, they're kind of keeping them standard with their regular wine or beer or mocktail, cocktail kind of.
Mhm.
Everyone's sort of doing things differently. So, yeah.
Awesome. And you're in some restaurants right now, right?
Yeah,
Pour
I
Sports in
am.
some restaurants in
I am.
Toronto. How
Yeah.
many roughly? Like
Gosh, I
right
think
now?
I'm about 15 now.
15.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's 15 places in Toronto where I can buy.
It's
And what's on the
really
menu?
nice.
Like, what's your popular item right now?
Mostly the rosé, just
Yeah.
because it comes in this nice little mini glass size, so it's 6.7 ounces. So a lot of restaurants like that because there is the concern of wastage, right? When you open a full bottle,
Oh,
normally, it's because you're going to use that
to
full
the table.
bottle, but
Yeah.
because it's still new to the scene and not everyone's ordering a non-alcoholic wine, it's better for this mini size because it's a single serve size.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've ever been to a restaurant where this would be a first if I saw a table getting a full bottle of non-alcoholic. I can't talk. Wine. Thank you.
Yeah, true.
You know
but
what? Maybe one day,
maybe
right?
one day. It is there. It's coming. It is
Um,
coming.
how do you think, how does sobriety today kind of shift your mindset with the entrepreneurial space and being an entrepreneur?
I don't think I'd be one if I wasn't
Yeah,
sober,
I
to
know,
be
plain and
honest.
simple, honestly.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd probably try. Like, I've always had that, like, motivation to, like, focus my career and do something on my own and run my own business since I was really young. But the drinking would have just slowed it down, not made me clear thinking. Like, you waste so much time, when you're you're drinking, it takes time.
Yeah.
You're hungover. You're like, the older you get, 3 days of cloudiness. And, like, how do you run a business?
I know.
How do you run a business when you're like that? So, sobriety for me has helped me, be patient and clear thinking and, run the business with intention. And I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't.
I think the time thing is so, I definitely realized that when I first got sober because you get sober, for my, situation, you come out of rehab and you just have all this time all of a sudden. It comes out of nowhere. You're like, I don't know what to do with myself, right? I got to get a hobby or something. That's why I'm grateful for this podcast because, it keeps me busy and it keeps me motivated, but also it keeps me around cool people like you. And I like to, I said this last time, but I think success to me is, if you're working on yourself, like plain and simple, like if I'm working on myself today, I'm noticing my flaws and my opportunities. People don't like that word flaws. My character defects, people don't like that word either, but they're there. I have a lot of character defects.
Yeah.
Honesty is a big
Yeah,
one. I have a hard time being honest and there's no reason for it. Like I'll lie about the stupidest shit just because I'm so used to it, but also I'm thinking that you're going to judge me some way or another, what sort of, I completely forgot my question. See, this happens sometimes.
That's fine.
Yeah. How would you say that sobriety has impacted your relationships today with other people?
Yeah, I think to be honest, like they're so much more meaningful because I'm a better person, right? I'm taking care, and I care about myself more, so I care about other people inevitably more. And I think when I was drinking, like, I wasn't consistent. I think I let people down, right? Because not intentionally, again, like, I don't ever try to do that, but drinking would take over in ways that I didn't have control, and I'd have plans with people and I'd change them, or I'd not be able to go because I was hungover, and you wouldn't even want to admit that sometimes. So it comes across like you just don't care about them, because you don't want to admit you have that problem or that you're drinking too much. So I think my friendships and my relationships with people have definitely gotten a lot better. And, you do have to obviously find new groups and new friends and new networks, just inevitably, because, again, like a lot of my friends that drink, I'm fine to be around them. Like I said, they're fully supportive. They don't influence me to make me drink, but you're just sometimes in different wavelengths. So you want to then find, I don't need to hang out with a bunch of people that don't drink a drop, but like people that are doing more non-drinking activities, like healthy activities, or out, doing, I'm in High Rocks training, and like I love my gym and the community there, and going for coffees and walks, and on dating, like that's a big one too. Because if you're not drinking and you're on a date and the other person drinks, like it gets a little bit like that uncomfortableness. And I found at first, like when I started my sobriety journey, I was single, and it was so hard at first. I was like almost, I don't want to say ashamed, but I tiptoed around it. I kept being like, I'm on a break. That lasted, 2 years.
Yeah. When's the last time you had a drink?
Yeah,
2 years ago.
like 2 years ago. But now I own it. Now I love it. And if that's a problem, then that's a great way of filtering someone out, because if it's a problem that you're not drinking, you probably don't want that person in your life.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I've been ghosted before. I'm married now, but when I was first getting sober and I started dating, this girl, she kept asking me why I didn't drink red wine, and that's how I know that it usually somebody may have a problem with me and it's not going to go as a red flag, is if they ask more than once, right? Or if they hang out on the topic. But there was multiple times, and then she just disappeared.
Oh, God.
And I was like, you know what, for the better.
For the better, right?
And then I'll never forget this. I met my wife for the first time, and I'm always also careful about it too, because I don't like to just lead with it. I don't drink, you don't, because like it's not everything. It's not your whole identity.
Exactly.
Right?
Totally.
And so, you get to know the person first, and I'll never forget this. You always get a little nervous when you, like you said, when you tell somebody that you like, or you start dating. And I told her, and she just didn't even oh, okay. And then we never talked about it again until we started dating. And I was like, oh, that's kind of nice.
That's nice.
She clearly doesn't have a problem with it. And, now we're married for almost a year, and things are going well. But yeah, it's like, do you have any advice for somebody that's starting dating in sobriety? Because I know this is probably I think a lot of people struggle with this, right? So.
Yeah, like I said, I think you got to just understand that worry about yourself. It shouldn't matter. Like I said, if they're going to judge you, then that's a great way to filter and think that's not the right person for you. And I think there's also a lot of ways to meet people now in more active base, events or
Run
activities,
clubs,
right? Like, there's run clubs. Like, I actually go on runs for dates. Like, some of my friends laugh at that, but I'm like, I went on a cold plunge for a date, like a first date. Like, you can find all those other outlets and other activities to do that don't involve sitting and having a beverage. Or again, non-alcoholic beverages are really good for that, because they feel less awkward seeing you have something that looks so similar on the other side of the table, if it's uncomfortable for them. But yeah, I think my advice is, try and just, if own your sobriety. You don't need to, like you said, deep dive into it right up front and talk
Wear a
about
shirt, I'm sober.
But be proud of it. And if someone has a problem, they have a problem, then that person's not for you. And then, try and find some other activities, because again, we're shifting. Even people that drink don't always want to go out and get drunk on their first date. You'll make a fool of yourself. You're not even, you got the beer goggles on anyways. More people are turning towards activities to get to know people regardless. So it's kind of good.
I think I agree 100%. It's great advice. I think too, for me, what better way to find out, like, I feel like nowadays people go on dates and they're like interviews, right? It's like you want to be efficient. You're swiping left, you're swiping right. I don't know what it is anymore, what the approve or not approve is. You're swiping one way, but people want to just they want to be efficient. Like, how many people can I see? It's like interviewing for a job, right? And I think personally, my opinion of that is that that's not any way to find out about someone. Sitting across a table, you're not going to find out like who someone is in an hour, 2 hours, or maybe even, 10 hours. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I truly think, you go, what did you, High Rock?
High Rocks.
High Rocks. So I'm
Yeah.
going to get you to explain that in a second
Yeah,
after I finish my point, because I don't know, it sounds interesting to me.
Intense.
Maybe I have a new addiction now.
There you go.
I love extreme activities. But what better way to get to know somebody than going on a run and like encountering problems in the world and seeing how they solve said problem, right? You run into a guy. You run into a guy that, is rude to you, right? And the person you're with freaks out on the person and says like maybe I don't want to be with that person that reacts that way in that situation. I always say this to people too, is like, when I traveled with my wife, that was the fastest way to learn. You encounter problems, you almost miss a flight, she kind of reacts like, I actually liked how she handled that, or I never thought I would do it that way. And you kind of you get closer through connection, right? You connect on emotions, like, instead of what do you do for work and what do you think about this? You're connecting through an emotional level. Yeah, right. Absolutely. So what is, explain this High Rock thing? I'm intrigued.
Yeah. It's this big global trend of this. It's a fitness competition, which involves 8 different circuits of like weight training concepts. So it's like, there's the sleds, right? The sleds that put the weight and then they push them and then you pull them. And then there's there's ski ergs and there's rowing and there's a burpees and a farmer's carry. So there's 8 different stations of all these different weight training, like a HIIT class. So when you go to a HIIT class, kind of like those 8 different stations. And then in between each one, you run a kilometer. So you do 8Ks total of running.
Whoa.
So it's hitting all the boxes there. You're doing the full body workout. Wow. And you can do it by yourself or you can do it with a partner. So I do one with one of my fitness buddies. And we did it last year and we did really well. And yeah, it's super intense and it's fun. So it's like such a great goal to have, right? Because you're training for something, which makes you want to get up and go to the gym more than just, your own motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I like marathon running so much, because there was a goal at the end that I needed to achieve. And I followed a very simple plan. I didn't do it my way. I just followed a plan, and lo and behold, it's amazing. You put the ingredients of the recipe together and you get the result. Sobriety is a lot, in my opinion, recovery is a lot in the same light as that. You get certain ingredients, and it's like baking a cake. You put the ingredients together. For me, it's 12-step recovery and meetings and stuff like that. You put them all together and you follow the recipe and you get an outcome. You get a sobriety for today, right? So I love that.
That's great.
What does your morning routine look like?
All right. Well, I get up. I have a dog. I have a boxer.
Oh, so
he is just as high energy as me. So we're both intense together, but he needs a lot of exercise. So I walk him, and I try to go to the gym in the morning. I like a morning session because it's just not just to get it out of the way, but just because I feel so good for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's a cheat code.
And I'm a morning person, so I'm one of those sort of 5 a.m.ers.
Nice.
Have a lot of energy. Go to bed early. So up early. And then now I have a day job too where I'm a project manager. So the business is sort of on the side. So I have to kind of play and plug it in wherever I fit those hours. So in the morning, I usually get up and start working, to be honest, after my workouts, and then, eat breakfast. I don't know. Like, it's so funny. Like, I'm not that routine. Like, I know a lot of people that go through different sobriety recovery have like the structure. I'm just more like, as long as I do these great things I have to do for myself, like my walks, my exercise, tick the boxes, I don't care when I do it. Yeah. Kind of a little bit rogue with my schedules, but.
Yeah. But you mentioned the having the dog thing is good because it holds you accountable to getting outside. I wake up a lot of mornings and I go right to my computer, and I find that those days are usually the ones that leave me kind of feeling a little bit more empty sometimes, right? And that's why I love this podcast, because it gets me out of my head, right? And it gets me out here, and because I find that isolation for me is like isolation over a extended period of time is a guaranteed relapse for me. It's only a matter of time. Like I've proven that so many times, Because when I'm isolating, my problems just stay in here, right? And I don't kind of bounce them off people. I don't reflect on them. Um, and then all my ideas start to seem like good ideas, you know?
Right.
Remember that one time that drinking worked for
Yeah.
like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
It'll happen again if you just
Right.
drink, and then we'll get back into recovery, buddy. You know, I
I
always
know.
like
Your
the addict and
brain,
the,
it's crazy. It's a
yeah,
powerful machine that tells you things that you don't, well,
yeah,
you
it's,
don't want to hear. But I fully agree about the being in isolation. I'm the same. I'm very much love people and need to be around people, and that's helped me a lot as well. um I think it's important. I think, and that's why like community and all these like healthy different things that are coming in like the non-alc sober cure space are so fantastic, because they're trying to say, is it really the alcohol that you needed, or was it the people, the connections, the like getting
social
everyone together?
situation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
someone out of their house. Because I think people think like, oh, if you're not drinking, it's so boring. Because, or when people do dry Jan or sober Jan or whatever, they think they just sit at home all day. Well, yeah, of course, if you sit at home and do nothing all
Yeah,
day,
it's gonna
that's so
suck.
boring.
Yeah,
So February comes and you're like, let's go.
yeah.
Like,
That would
you
suck if
know,
you drank and sat at home all day, anyways.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, exactly. But it's all about like being able to get out there and do all those things, and be around community and like-minded great people. I think that keeps people in recovery and keeps people, it just sheds positive light on it
Yeah,
all.
I think I think we were meant to be around people. You know, we weren't meant to have these phones, right? We weren't meant to be getting dopamine all day, right?
Mm-hmm.
We should be getting our dopamine. That's a dangerous word. I think that it's better if I get my dopamine from social situations, vibes and ambiances, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I love what you're doing. I love this non-alcoholic thing, because I think it'll connect a lot more people to situations. They have now a little bit of a helper and maybe something to kind of guide them through the tough situation that used to require alcohol for that social lubrication, right?
Exactly.
I don't really like that word, but it's
It's used.
it's
People
what
know what they.
I mean. It's what I was doing, right? Like I hated every time I walk into a room, and it still happens today, but it's a lot better. I would walk into rooms and I would just be like, everybody is making fun of the way I walk right now. Like that is so outrageous to think, you know what I mean? But it's like it was true in my mind, right?
Yeah. No, I know. We're
So
hard on ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people drink, right? Like people, you think it's gaining that confidence, but it's really not. And the confidence, do you find like now when you're not drinking, like in your past your phases of kind of having that itch, that you're so much more confident?
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
like the opposite
yeah,
almost, you
yeah.
know?
It's sometimes too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
That ego comes out, you're
Yeah.
not the best in the world. But you know where I really noticed it is making eye contact with people.
Right.
Like as simple as that. It was so hard and I still struggle. I look all over the place, but that's probably because I'm a finicky person.
Right.
Just, I could not look anyone in the eyes before,
Right.
and you start to notice that you're like, huh, those people that like make way too much eye contact
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I was at a meeting the other day, and I'd shared, and it was one of those. I don't know. Maybe you've been, maybe you haven't, but there's certain meetings where you share, and the entire room kind of thanks you, but says like how it related to them, and it's really tough sometimes because you got to
Right.
just like next,
Oh my
next,
gosh.
going on to the
Yeah.
next one. And there's this one lady that I'm not kidding. She like locked onto my eyes and would not look away. And so it became like a staring contest, and she was just talking, and I felt so uncomfortable. I was like, look away, please look away. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And you don't want to be the first one to like look
Yeah.
away, because then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, she's
You
gonna
lost
notice.
it.
She's gonna notice
Yeah.
that I looked away, right?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Sounds fun.
But yeah, I mean, looking people in the eyes,
Yeah.
that's a big one for me.
Yeah.
How do you find that you're more confident? You said that you public speak and stuff like that now, and
Yeah.
how does the confidence come out in like where were you not be able to be confident before? And
Well, I like weirdly enough, I thought I needed like alcohol to be confident, right? Like I just again it was that like maybe a bad habit I picked up or I don't know what, but I thought that like anytime I would go out for like gonna be around a bunch of people, I was like, oh, maybe I should have a drink before I go just to like loosen me up
yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
And like now I'm like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
people don't normally think like that, right?
No, 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 exactly.
I
They're more
did.
just like
Yeah.
out the door and then, they have drinks with the situation. But I used to, yeah, maybe like you said, like you're playing things in your head. Like, what are people going to think about you? And like overanalyzing things so much. But like, I think then when I did kind of give it up, and of course it's hard at first when you do, right? There's that struggle and like that identity's gone. But then when you get past that, and trust me, it gets so much better, and you get
Yeah.
past that really hard phase, and then it's like you're like reborn again. Like that person did die. Good. That person needed to die. That person was a toxic person.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're out of my life,
Yeah.
and I'm this new reborn, have a new a confidence, and just like it's at least for me it was great. And I think it comes with time too. Like it's getting better and better as the time goes on, with kind of just clearing it out of my system and everything.
I love it. I think I spent a lot of time hating myself, and it's really hard to, like you said, promise yourself you're not going to do this, because I did that too. Okay, I'm only going to drink. I'm only going to use drugs on weekends. I'm only going to drink on weekends. Then you break the rule. You're like, well, I must be a piece of shit now because I can't even keep up with my own rules. So it's really hard to be confident when I'm constantly beating myself up and hating myself. And then you get sober and you're like, huh, I can actually show up, do what I'm going to say, be a man of my word, and kind of you start to like yourself again, right? And you're like, huh, I'm a pretty good person, right? And it's finding that balance between like, I'm the best in the world and I'm a piece of shit, right? Like finding that balance in between the two. I find too that helping others is really a good confidence builder, right?
Absolutely.
Like when I'm helping, I was at a rehab center today. I love going to rehabs now. When you're on the other side, it's the best. When you're in them,
when you're in them,
oh
I'm sure,
boy, the worst.
It's
but
so
when you're on the other side, and I saw this guy, and he came up to me, and he was so confident, right?
Mhm.
And he was so happy to be alive. One of those guys.
Right.
And I didn't even know he was a patient of the treatment center. And I'm talking to him. I thought he worked there, right? And I'm like, it came out that he's like, yeah, actually, I'm out on Thursday or whatever. He was so happy, and I'm like, fuck, you're a patient here. I'm like, dude, you look great. Like I didn't even, he had the sparkle back in his eyes already, right?
Yeah.
And we come in so broken, right? When we quit drinking, at least in my case, we're so broken and so beat up and so just dead inside, right? Our soul is like crushed completely. That you string together a month or 2 months or 3 months, and then one day at a time, you just start to get that kind of sparkle back in your eye, and the drive for life comes back, right? Where you're like, huh, maybe I am a decent person.
Yeah. And you see life so differently, like when I'd love to travel. I've been to like 43 countries.
Whoa.
Like, yeah. Holy. Like huge traveler, but it always was so consumed with drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely was maybe a little bit more balanced too, because like I'd do things like climb mountains and Machu Picchu and like things that you really couldn't be too intoxicated to do that. But I'd always find the balance, right? Like, oh, I gotta have the party time of my travels, and and I found like now, since giving up drinking, going traveling, like again, you have all this time, you have all this energy, you're enjoying your full day, and you're seeing everything with such a different light. You're not sitting at a patio just having a lot of beers, just being like, or wine, being like, oh, I'm on holidays, this is great. Like you're actually out doing so much. You experience so much. And it's just, everything's it's just in such a better light, it's just clarity, and it's just nice. And of course, like I think like also to be real, times get tough, really tough too, right? Like I think like the sobriety life is great and it's so much better, clearly a million times better, but like times get really hard too, right? Like that you'll have great days like this, and then you'll have one day that's just like something happens. And it's so hard, and you have to be in that. You have to feel it, And that's a hard thing to then say. I used to always go to alcohol as my vice, my way to cope. But you're like, I now have to sit with this thought or this past trauma or this whatever's going on in my life. And it can be so hard, right? And I think just like knowing that, like, remember those great times, those clarity. Remember, try and push that to the surface to say you'll get through it. Just take a day off, or like call a friend, or maybe, maybe that's also when I'm not needing to be out and social because I just need some time for myself to just like rest, and then and then you bounce back and you're back to that,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, every time I relapsed, it started with my state of mind beforehand and not telling anyone about it and sitting in it. But it was never like a instant, like out of I don't even know how that happened, right? I mean, at least in my case, it was, as when you relapse, then it becomes that, right? In my experience, you relapse, then it becomes like you're not even thinking about it. You're like, fuck it, I'm already here, whatever. But like the first one after any long length of sobriety, it was always like a leading up. There was something that was going on. I wasn't telling anyone. I was isolating, and if I think back now, and I don't regret it because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I think I needed to have those moments. But if I think back now, and I just kind of like white knuckled through that situation and did something else and just got through it, 100% it would have been better.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, it would have been different. That's for
Yeah.
sure. The next day would have been different. That's why I always say to people now, and I try to live by this, is like, just get to bed, right? Just try and get to bed. You're not going to, a feeling won't kill you, but alcohol and drugs will. I think Alan said that actually. a feeling won't kill you, right? But you know, a drug and alcohol might, right? So,
yeah, totally.
I mean, at least if you're in recovery. Well, now cocaine nowadays, you never know.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's dropping people all over the place.
People are, it's crazy out there.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah, so I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I'm in this recovery space. But you're right. Some days, you know, life is gonna life you. You know? What's something that you're working on today about yourself? Like something that you really, something personal, I guess.
I think what I'm learning, and we were talking about this earlier, actually, is just the whole being able to enjoy the good moments and like the wins of the business and not just keep going. Like stop, pause, and enjoy what's happening in your life now and all the good things. We're hard on ourselves as humans in general, right? And you're always striving to be better and bigger, and we're now comparing ourselves with people all the time on social media and stuff. And it's just like, you know, just calm down and enjoy what you've achieved. And I think with the business, I'm very hard on myself too, that I should be out doing this a million things. And I'm like, okay, just calm down, girl. Like sit down and and enjoy the wins you've got and the people you've met, and you know what will happen. And I'm just not good at that, because I'm like, go, like all or nothing again.
What's
like
next?
here we go.
Yeah,
What's next?
Yeah.
Like a little ADHD kind of monster.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I gotta just like, you know, just enjoy those little wins.
I love that.
Relax a bit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. One of my favorite quotes, and I want to put this on a T-shirt. I heard it on a podcast. It's like, remember when you wanted what you have now. Remember when you wanted what you have now.
Yeah.
Like there was a time where you wanted this.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? Exactly.
And you would have killed somebody. Maybe I shouldn't speak for you, but you would have done whatever it took to launch the business, to get it going, to get it into a restaurant in Toronto. Yeah. Like sometimes I think I'm just like, fuck, like, remember when you wanted to start a podcast and how impossible it seemed in your mind. And now it's like,
doing it.
It's like what day is it today? It's a Thursday afternoon, and it's like autopilot. It takes me 10 minutes to set this shit up. It used to take me like an hour to get this going, right? And now it's like nothing. And
this is a professional studio too.
Like
this is not just a basement. Like
I'm not just anybody.
You're doing big things here.
I'm somebody, don't you know? Yeah. Look out, Dax Shepard. I'm coming after you, Joe Rogan. Yeah. Theo Vaughn.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I love podcasting, and you know, I try to remember, you know, why I to your point, I have to remember why I started this too, because it's so easy to get into I need more likes, I need more followers, I need more money, I need to monetize, I need to get sponsorship. Right. Dude, just stay sober and help the still suffering alcoholic, because that's why you fucking started, you know? Exactly. The minute you start to change that, that's when it gets dicey, I think.
You're right.
Yeah. You're exactly focusing on outcomes is a dangerous, dangerous game in any walk of life.
Absolutely.
Right?
I couldn't agree more. I'm trying to do the same.
Yeah. It's hard though, right? I love it.
For sure.
What's one word you would describe sobriety?
Okay, one word. I think for me, like empowerment, probably. Because again, it's just like, and it wasn't that at first, obviously. No. But because again, like I said, there's such a stigma still to people that don't drink.
Yeah.
And like, I guess I didn't go through the like rehab or the recovery, so people maybe didn't take it as seriously either, that thinking I don't have a problem. So I don't know. I think, but now I'm finding, empowerment, because I am, again, like, I'm like reaching, and I know you hate that word, but that potential I didn't even know was there for myself. And sobriety helped me do that. So it's a very empowering feeling, and it just feels like I'm in control, like finally, and like more so than ever in my life. not just the drinking now, like in control of just everything and my choices. And I'm very like future thinking now, where before the party girl Alana was like, woo, live in the moment. Like I was so just about that moment. And, you know, and like adventures, like for me, like it was chaos because I'd go around and hop around and my friends would be like, what happened to you last night? I'd be like, I was at this bar, then I was at that bar, I was at this bar, I met this
And
person,
it was the
that
best.
person. It was so much fun, you know? And it's like, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, and now like that to me, like, no, like to me now I'm doing that, but in good ways, like getting the business, doing this, meeting people, like it's all more healthier vices, but I have control of it. And it's just such an empowering feeling. Like it just feels great.
Yeah, I love it. I always say like I used to be a slave to drugs and alcohol, right? Any problem that showed up, it's like I didn't have a choice. It was like, no, I need to use over this. I need to drink over this because I'm not going to get through this sober, right? And now it's like, yeah, I have a choice. I have a choice. When I turn off these cameras and say bye to you today, I can go and drink if I want to. You know, I never really liked when people came in and said, oh, I can't drink anymore. Like I can't drink. It's like, no, you can. You're choosing not to. Right? And I like that better because I don't like being told I can't do anything.
Yeah, no one does. It's
right?
a negative word.
Yeah, even though I think I can't do a lot of things, which is it's kind of ironic, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, no, I'm choosing not to, and I know it's going to be okay, you know?
Exactly.
So where can we find you, Alana?Here can we find Pour Sport? How do we buy your beautiful rosé?
The beautiful rosé. Well, you can buy it online. So my website, www.drinkpoursport.com, or you can find it's popping up in lots of non-alc bottle shops in Toronto. There's Beverages in Kensington and Zero Cocktail Bar in Cabbagetown.
Shout out Zero.
Yeah, I think you know Gail. And there's Sober Sips and Berry, and Upside Drinks is an online platform, and it's in some of the sober markets in Toronto.
Nice.
And then, just you'll hopefully see it popping up on more menus and different sports clubs. There's a big one too, right? Like different St. George's golf club now have it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you were telling me that.
I'm going to be Stacked Market too.
Yeah.
For July 19th, they're having a big kind of cookout festival.
Cool.
So I'll be there.
Is it like a non-alcoholic festival or?
It's a mix of everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like food and different vendors of different, I think, like arts and crafts in a mix.
Nice.
And
July 19th.
music, July 19th.
At Stacked Market.
Saturday.
Go.
Come.
Yeah. That's amazing. I learned a lot today, Elena. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
I know. I had a lot of fun. I love doing this and love meeting people. I really do hope that, you know, in the future when I go to not just, you know, specific restaurants, I really do hope we come to a point where I can go to the Keg, I can go to, I don't know, Kelsey's, and just have as many non-alcoholic options as alcohol, right? I think, you know, the one thing I really want to hammer home with people is like, you know, sobriety is not, we're not pushing the agenda on anybody. I don't give a fuck, right?
No,
like
totally.
if you want to drink and do drugs and you're having fun, good. That's amazing. Like I don't want anyone to come across thinking that I'm trying to push. And you said that early on, you know, to each his own, right? But I need to be sober to enjoy my life. And I think that you're doing pretty good too.
Yeah. And I think people that think they don't, obviously, even though they're like balanced, if you try it, you might feel so good you didn't even realize. That's another thing. There's all those people. There's so much potential, right?
What is your potential, right? You know, a functioning alcoholic. Like, are you functioning, right? But what could you be doing, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Elena. I loved having you on today.
This has been fun. Thank you very much, Anthony. I appreciate it. Love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please help us grow the channel and like, share, and subscribe for more content. The discussions and stories shared on this podcast are for informational and motivational purposes only. This content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, addiction treatment, or therapy. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please consult a licensed physician, addiction specialist, or mental health professional. You are no longer alone.